I'm Adrian Seet, and this is Nightline, the headlines. Face masks compulsory in school indoors areas except in certain situations, says Senior Education Minister. And we have power to investigate public officers, including judges, says MACC. Thanks for joining us. Schools nationwide will revert to the pre-pandemic schooling system and operate at full capacity from Sunday. Senior Education Minister Dato Dr. Razzie Jidin, in announcing the relaxation of the Standard Operating Procedures (SOP), said the use of face masks when outdoors will be optional. However, it remains compulsory in indoor areas within the school compounds. According to Dato Dr. Razzie, the relaxation to the indoor mask ruling only applies in certain situations, such as when a person is alone while teaching in front of a class, for individuals with special needs, individuals with respiratory problems, during sports and recreational activities, and children aged 5 and below. He further said scanning the QR code on the MySejahtera application for check-ins as well as physical distancing measures will no longer be required. However, physical distancing is encouraged in situations where face masks are not worn, such as when carrying out group activities and in open areas within the school premises.
Ada guru-guru yang merasakan bahawa keberadaan atau penyusunan yang kelas seperti mana ada pada hari ini, jarak 1 meter antara satu sama lain memberikan kekangan, maka dengan ketetapan ini guru boleh memilih pendekatan yang paling baik berkaitan dengan penyusunan kelas. Namun apa yang paling penting di dalam kelas, semua murid perlu dipastikan memakai pelitup muka.
Dato Dr. Razzie said this in a press conference on school operations at his ministry in Putrajaya on Thursday, following the announcement on the relaxation of COVID-19 control and preventive measures in the country by Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin on Wednesday. He also stressed that it was compulsory for students, teachers, administrative officers and implementation team members to be present in schools, adding that they must conduct COVID-19 self-tests if they are symptomatic. As for students who are symptomatic and positive for COVID-19, the senior minister said they must first be placed in an isolation room and undergo a self-test. If the result is negative, the affected student can continue to attend classes by wearing a face mask. However, if the student tests positive, the teacher must contact the parents for follow-up action. It is also compulsory for students to wear school uniforms from June 12th, besides complying with school guidelines on haircuts. All other COVID-19 SOPs and restrictions, including sports and outdoor activities, boarding school admissions, recess breaks and dining at school canteens, as well as parent visitations, will also resume as normal. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, said it was acting within its jurisdiction to investigate any public official after an official report or complaints have been lodged against the individuals. In a statement released on Thursday, the anti-graft body said it had a responsibility to verify and investigate an official report or complaint brought to its attention in line with its procedures. The MACC said that they were given the authority to investigate corruption cases under the MACC Act 2009, which includes investigating officers of public bodies as defined in Section 3 of the Act. MACC said they also had records of investigating judges, and once the investigation process is completed, the investigation paper will be submitted to the Attorney General's chambers to decide whether to prosecute or otherwise. The Commission asserted its power within the law, following criticisms thrown their way after they were confirmed to have opened an investigation against the Court of Appeal judge, Datuk Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali, who was alleged to have received a sum of money. The Health Ministry, MOH, can shift its focus on managing the non-communicable diseases (NCDs) epidemic in the country now that the COVID-19 pandemic has been brought under control. Its Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said although the COVID-19 pandemic was an emergency from a public health aspect, it is only for a short period compared to NCDs, which are more long-term in nature.
NCD ini dia adalah ibarat ticking time bomb. Kita tak tahu dia ada, tetapi sesuatu hari nanti ia akan meletup. Dan apabila ia meletup, too late, sebab kita terpaksa menjaga ataupun merawat dan kita tidak dapat melaksanakan tindakan untuk mencegah NCD itu untuk menjadi lebih teruk kepada rakyat kita.
Khairi said this at the launch of the B40 healthcare scheme, PERCA B40 Annual Report 2021 in Putrajaya on Thursday. He pointed out that unlike COVID-19, which shows the symptoms in 3 or 4 days, the symptoms or ill effects of NCDs can only be seen after a few years. He added that the National Health and Morbidity Survey 2019 reported that NCDs accounted for 67% of premature deaths, with 1 out of 5 adults or 3.9 million people aged 18 and above suffer from diabetes. 3 out of 10 or 6.4 million people have high blood pressure, and 4 out of 10 people or 8 million people suffer from high cholesterol. Khairi said regular health screening can help detect such diseases much earlier, which will allow intervention and treatment to be given before they become more serious or severe. Since its introduction in 2019 until March 31st this year, PERCA B40 has screened 582,746 people. From the total, 186,610 people were detected to have at least one NCD, mostly involving high blood pressure, cholesterol and diabetes. Bank Negara Malaysia BNM Governor Tan Sri Nur Shamsia Muhammad Yunus has given the assurance that the impact of a weaker ringgit, which took a dip versus the US dollar and Singapore dollar in recent weeks, will not lead to hyperinflation in Malaysia. This is due to several policies that have been put in place by BNM to help mitigate the inflationary pressures. In an exclusive interview with Bernama, Tan Sri Nur Shamsia said although the central bank expects to see some price increases amid the depreciating ringgit as imports become more expensive, the current fuel price ceiling, which has been in place since 2021, has kept prices stable amid the exchange rate and oil price fluctuations. Shorter-term measures implemented by the government, which include price control on key essential items such as fresh chicken and cooking oil, would mitigate cost pressures. She added income transfers to vulnerable households will also help soften the impact. A weaker ringgit also prompts consumers to switch to more domestically produced goods and services, and this helps spur the local economy. It also results in Malaysia's exports to be more competitive as it makes them relatively cheaper, and firms in these sectors also see their net revenues increasing. She also stressed that Malaysia was not at risk of becoming like some nations that are facing troubles paying their external debts, as the country is expected to record a current account surplus exceeding 75 billion ringgit this year. The flexibility of the ringgit also allows Malaysia's economy to adapt to changing conditions and buffer it from the impact of economic shocks. She pointed out that even amidst these challenges, Malaysia was still expected to register a strong recovery this year, and BNM will continue to manage the risks arising from both domestic and external developments to support a more sustainable recovery. A select committee has been set up to expedite the foreign worker quota approval process. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said his ministry would be contacting the employers to reschedule their interview dates to expedite their application process. In a statement on Thursday, Datuk Sri Saravanan said the employer interview process will be conducted in Putrajaya, and the employers are required to be present to sign the pledge of compliance with the labour laws as set by the government. He also said application for employers to hire foreign workers in all employment sectors was opened on February 15th. But some applications could not be processed either because the racial compliance requirement imposed were not met, did not comply with the labour laws, or the applications were incomplete. He said the applications would not be processed manually, and the foreign worker quota application could only be accessed through Foreign Workers Centralised Management System, FWCMS, online portal. The Cabinet meeting last December 10th had agreed on the recruitment of foreign workers in sectors which they are permitted to work in. Early this month, the minister said his ministry had received over 500,000 applications to hire foreign workers from the 5 sectors, namely construction, agriculture, plantation, manufacturing and services. Tens of thousands of vehicles are expected to enter Johor from Singapore daily during the upcoming holiday season. Johor Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat said based on the figures from the 2 customs, inspection and quarantine complexes, about 70,000 people entered Johor from Singapore daily since the border reopened, with an estimated 35,000 vehicles coming in daily. Datuk Kamarul Zaman said there is bound to be traffic congestion in Johor Bahru and other parts of the state, especially with travellers expected from Kuala Lumpur as well as the northern states.
Rakyat kita 2.5, 2.6 juta. Sampai 2.8 juta rakyat Johor. Tapi yang berada di Johor, kemungkinan saya pun tak boleh jangka lah. Tapi mungkin akan sampai 1 juta juga. Boleh sampai 1 juta kenderaan. Tambahan pula dari Singapura akan masuk, mungkin akan meningkat. Sebab kita ada cuti 10 hari. Seperti yang saya cakap tadi, ada 10 hari cuti. Jadi bila masa 10 hari ini memang akan banyak pergerakan yang akan berlaku.
He said police will work with the related enforcement agencies such as city councils and deploy personnel to 30 traffic congestion hotspots and 41 accident spots in Johor to monitor the traffic situation and ensure smooth traffic flow. He was speaking at a press conference at the Skudai Toll Plaza on Thursday. Datuk Kamarul Zaman earlier launched the Ops Selamat program, which begins on April 29th until May the 8th to combat break-ins and minimize traffic accidents in conjunction with the Labour Day and Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebrations. He also said that a total of 432 police officers and personnel would be included in the Ops Selamat effort, which includes monitoring one of the deadliest roads located in Batu Pahat, adding that Johor sees an average of about 200 traffic accidents with a death toll of 2 cases a day. In other news, 9 investigation papers have been opened up by the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry on cases of foreign registered vehicles pumping RON 95 petrol in Johor. Its Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said that a total of 18 complaints have been received by the ministry since the border reopened.
9 kes sudah kena, separuh lah. Dalam kesihatan semua tu. Dalam kesihatan. Kita pasti kesihatan dulu lah. Pastikan TV kita tengok. Ya.
Ada seksyen apa Datuk Seri? Ada seksyen apa siasatan?
Akta kawalan bakalan. Ya, kita ada akta kawalan bakalan. Kita teruskan pemantauan ini, memang ada. Sentiasa ada. Kita pun ada ops samar, no. Orang-orang kita dia tak pakai uniform. Dia pakai baju biasa.
He added that all of the complaints received so far are from Johor. As a high number of Singaporeans are expected to visit Johor during the Hari Raya Aidilfitri holiday soon, the minister also urged petrol station operators to help the authorities in monitoring foreign registered vehicles. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on Thursday accompanied 54 orphans and asnaf children under his care to shop for a new set of clothes for Hari Raya Aidilfitri at a shopping mall in Putrajaya. The Prime Minister said the shopping trip was his annual routine with the orphans, who have also become his adopted children. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri brought smiles to the children's faces, who looked very excited to see him and who affectionately addressed the Prime Minister as Atok.
Seperti biasalah, setiap tahun saya bawa mereka. Jadi dulu saya bawa mereka, jadi walaupun saya dah jadi Perdana Menteri pun mereka masih rapat dengan saya dan dah menjadi sebagai rutin setiap tahun kita bersama-sama untuk membeli pakaian raya. Jadi sebab itu hari ini pun saya bawa anak yatim yang saya di bawah tanggungan saya itu dan juga yang lain-lain sekali lah. Ya, untuk membantu menggembirakan mereka lah sempena sambutan hari raya.
Pure happiness was obvious in the children's smiles as they were allowed to pick their own raya outfits and shoes according to their preferred colours and designs. One of the children, 11-year-old Nur Auni Shafia Jeffrey Muhammad Zain, said that she and her older sister woke up at 6 a.m. out of excitement to go shopping with Atok.
Hari ni seronok tak asyik belanja?
Seronok.
Beli apa je hari ni?
Baju raya.
Berapa pasang?
Mana ada baju raya lah, baju jalan. Jalan.
Berapa banyak beli tadi? Ada berapa dah beli?
Tak ingat.
Tak ingat.
Banyak sangat.
Banyak sangat ke?
Warna
beli,
apa, Dek? Warna apa tahun ni, Dek?
Warna hijau tebu.
Hijau tebu.
Kasih Atok belanja.
Nur Auni and Nur Shamimi are two of the four children of Jeffrey Muhammad Zain and Nur Salawati Ibrahim, who were killed when their motorcycle they were riding was hit by a sand-laden lorry in Cheras in 2014. Meanwhile, as a token of love and appreciation, another pair of siblings, 13-year-old Nur Firuza Amira Fairuz Nizam and 10-year-old Nur Firuza Akila, also took the opportunity to present Atok with their homemade raya cookies. More local news later in the bulletin. But first, UN chief condemns absurdity of war in Ukraine visit. The details when we return. Welcome back. Russia has stepped up its assaults on eastern and southern Ukraine, while President Vladimir Putin threatened a lightning-fast retaliation against any Western countries that intervene on Ukraine's behalf. Kyiv on Thursday said Russia has mounted a push to seize two eastern provinces in a battle the West views as a decisive turning point in the war. It was reported that Russia's main attack was near the towns of Slobodansk and Donetsk, along the strategic frontline highway linking Kharkiv with the Russian-occupied city of Izium. Besides that, Ukraine said there were also strong explosions overnight in the southern city of Congestion, the only regional capital Russia has captured since the invasion. It was said that Russian troops were now shelling the entire surrounding region as well as attacking towards Mykolaiv and Kryvyi Rih. Russia President Vladimir Putin, in the meantime, told the United States to stop sending arms to Ukraine, saying large Western deliveries of weapons were inflaming the conflict. Addressing lawmakers in St. Petersburg on Wednesday, Putin said the West wanted to cut Russia up into different pieces and accused it of pushing Ukraine into conflict with Russia. In the meantime, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Thursday described the war as evil and absurd during a visit to Borodianka outside Kyiv, where Moscow's troops are accused of killing civilians during their occupation. During his first visit to the war-scarred country, Guterres also urged Russia to cooperate with the International Criminal Court, ICC, on investigations into possible war crimes carried out during its invasion of Ukraine. Following his visit to Burcha, Guterres is set to hold talks with President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky later on Thursday. Earlier in the week, Guterres met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow, where the two were said to have discussed the possible evacuation of the besieged Azovstal steel complex in the city of Mariupol. A general strike crippled Sri Lanka on Thursday as demands grew for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his family members to resign over the country's worst ever economic crisis. Thursday's strike was the first time the entire country had been brought to a standstill since those demonstrations began. More than 100 trade unions, some affiliated to Rajapaksa's ruling Sri Lanka Podujana Peramanu Party, have joined the general strike, whose participants are demanding the President, Prime Minister and other senior officials resign. It was reported that President Rajapaksa is due to meet political party leaders on Friday to discuss the crisis. The island nation of 22 million people have been hit by months of acute shortages of food, fuel and medicine, prompting widespread protests. Beijing is closing all city schools in a further tightening of COVID-19 restrictions as China's capital seeks to prevent a wider outbreak. The city's Education Bureau on Thursday ordered all schools to end classes from Friday and said it hadn't determined when they would resume. The city of 21 million has already ordered 3 rounds of mass testing this week, with the third coming Friday, aimed at averting a Shanghai-like lockdown. Beijing announced 50 new cases on Thursday, 2 of them asymptomatic, bringing its total in the latest wave of infections to around 150. Sports. Substitute Yuki Otsu scored twice in the 84th and 85th minutes as Jubilo Iwata came back to stun Nagoya Grampus 2-1 in the Japanese J-League on Thursday. Nagoya's Mateus Castro struck for opener to give the visitors the lead. Trailing since the 43rd minute, Otsu headed in the 84th minute equalizer from a Yasuhito Endo corner. In the hosts' next possession, Yuto Suzuki headed down a long ball into the box. Otsu collected it, dribbled away from one defender, then turned and fired in the 85th minute winner from the edge of the penalty area. The win at Yamaha Stadium in Iwata, Shizuoku Prefecture was Jubilo's first league win in 7 games and their second of the season. The win also moved Jubilo past Nagoya and into 10th in the J-League tables on 11 points, while Nagoya remain on 10 points in the 14th place. Still on football, Yokohama F. Marinos beat Hwang An Jialai 2-0 in the Group H tie of AFC Champions League 2022 on Thursday at Thong Nhat Stadium, Ho Chi Minh City. Thanks to Marcus Unyo's penalty and a header from Shinosuke Hatanaka, which ensured the J-League side go into the final round of Group H matches in pole position. The result means Kevin Muscat's side is standing firmly on top of the group with 12 points from 5 games with 1 round of matches remaining. Yokohama will face K-League side Jeonbuk Motos on Sunday, while the Vietnamese side, which is already eliminated, is to conclude their journey of the campaign with a meeting against Sydney FC the same day. Housefire in Kuantan kills a boy and injures 5 people. This and more from the local front when we return. A 2-year-old boy died and 5 other people were injured in a fire at 2 houses in Jalan Permatang Badak Perdana 2 in Kuantan, Pahang early on Thursday morning. Those injured were 2 men, 2 women and an 8-month-old baby girl. The incident at around 3 a.m. damaged 2 houses and also razed 3 cars which were parked in the vicinity. Pahang Fire and Rescue Department Deputy Director of Operations Ismail Abdul Ghani said firemen were alerted to the incident at 3:15 a.m.
Berdasarkan siasatan awal oleh Jawatan Umur dan Malaysia Negeri Pahang, dapati kebakaran ini berpunca daripada satu letupan yang sangat kuat menyebabkan struktur rumah runtuh hampir keseluruhan. Dan didapati seramai 5 orang mangsa cedera yang sangat teruk dan sekarang telah dihantar ke hospital.
2 fire engines with 18 firemen from the Taman Tas and Indra Mahkota stations were dispatched to the scene. The cause of the fire had yet to be ascertained. In Terengganu, a self-employed man was charged at the Marang Magistrates Court on Thursday with 2 counts of trafficking drugs, weighing 13.75 kilograms this month. However, no plea was recorded when the charge was read to him before Magistrate Engku Nurul Ain Engku Muda. 55-year-old Aziz Said was alleged to have trafficked methamphetamine weighing nearly 13.2 kilograms at Kampung Surau Haji Yaakob on April the 18th. The accused, who faces a possible death sentence on the trafficking charge, was also slapped with another count at the same court with consuming drugs by injecting methamphetamine into his body on the same date. The charges were framed under the Dangerous Drugs Act. The court fixed July 28th for next mention of the case. Beginning 28th of April to the 28th of August 2022, 180 Studios is hosting a new exhibition entitled Future Shock. Now, this will be an immersive experience that blurs the boundaries between the physical and the virtual, and perhaps a glimpse into our future. Let's take a look at this exhibition as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for tuning in, and to all our Muslim viewers, Selamat berpuasa.